What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at the top 10 most expensive One Piece cards that were released in the year 2024. We are sticking to cards that can be pulled from booster packs, because there are a whole bunch of prize cards that get very, very silly, and frankly, we can't be getting into that, partly because it's not really very fun, because for a lot of people they're entirely unobtainable, but also because just trying to put a price on some of these prize cards is just absolutely absurd. And I don't know how we deal with this. I don't know how we put a price on some of these prize cards. So for that reason, and I'm sorry if this seems a bit mean, but yes, obviously, the first place Kaido from the One Piece finals is going to be more expensive than the cards on this list. But again, I think if we keep it to cards that can be pulled from packs that release this year, things are going to be easier. What packs were released this year? Well, I'm glad you asked. We had OP06, that was Wings of the Captain, that was our first one in March. We had OP07, 500 Years in the Future in June, but that actually came after EB01, the Memorial Collection in May. We had OP082 Legends in September, Premium Booster 01 One Piece Card The Best in November, and we finished off in December with OP09 Emperors in the New World. If a card came in one of those packs, it's eligible for this list. If it didn't, it's not. And we start off at number 10 with the Manga Rare Rally at $300. And I can tell you that this is a nice, clean list. And I'm going to be honest with you right at the start, it's Manga Rares. We actually had exactly 10 Manga Rares that were released this year. And that is essentially where this list is going to be going. Which means this one from OP08 actually cheapest Manga Rare this year. Honestly, $300 for a Manga Rare, it's cheap. It's very, very cheap. Cheap to the point, if you're someone who just really, really wants a Manga Rare, this is, and I'm not telling you all to run out and buy this straight away, but I am saying if you really want a Manga Rare, this is about the best opportunity you're going to get, just putting it out there. Now, since I've told you it's all the Manga Rares, before we get on to number 9, let's take a brief stop and talk about some of the really cool cards that almost made it. So the top 3 special rares of the year, we had the Wanted Poster Luffy, which came in at $125, that was from OP09. The Onami from OP07 that came in at $150, and the runaway winner, also from OP09, was the special rare Nami, yes, it's Nami again, that comes in at $225, which you might notice is not very far below the least expensive Manga Rare in the set. Yeah, that's, I think that's a little bit interesting, just putting it out there. The only other card which I think is really worth mentioning here is the gold Zoro. That comes in at $220, which is actually a tiny bit below the Nami from OP09, but not much. And yeah, this is the most expensive of the gold Don from Premium Booster 01, which to be fair is expected, because of course it was in Japan. Why would it not be over here? Worth noting there are a bunch of gold Don that are around the 1 to 150 mark. So Premium Booster 01, if you can pick up some of the gold Don, still a very cool set. Cool. In at number 9, the Buggy manga from OP09, coming in at about $400, which is still 1/3 higher than our number 10 card here. Yeah, sorry about that. And look, I like Buggy. I think Buggy is extremely cool. My kids love Buggy. I just think Buggy is a great character, and I really like the Buggy card. It fits very well with the Buggy deck. But the people have spoken. Unfortunately, Buggy, not the most exciting one here. It is the quote-unquote worst Manga Rare in OP09. But if I'm opening OP09 and I'm pulling a Manga Rare, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm happy. I bought 2 random packs of OP09 the other day, pulled a regular Roger. I was delighted. Secret Rare from 2 packs. That'll do, pig. That'll do. In at number 7, surprisingly, it's the Nami Manga Rare from Premium Booster 01, which comes in at $475. And this is surprising to me because I genuinely, honestly thought this would be one of the big ones. Now, it's the Nami from OP01, which is a decently playable card. It's your Straw Hat Searcher. It's not seeing much play at the moment, but it has in the past, and you can imagine it seeing so again in the future. It just hasn't been a particularly great card. It's Nami who's super popular, but something about Premium Booster 01 has knocked this card down. I suppose I should at this point mention the other manga rares that were reprinted in Premium Booster 01, like the Luffy, which is like a $1,000 card. I'm not putting them on this list because they're only available in a God Pack, so it doesn't really seem like a great idea to try putting these individually on the list. They're reprints of cards from last year that are only coming around in a God Pack. I just don't think they count. But if they do count, Luffy actually goes up to number 2 on the list. In at number 7, the other big surprise for me, the Boa Hancock Manga Rare from OP07. And I keep you guys, I think, pretty well informed on this channel about all the goings-on in the One Piece TCG. And everything that we could see from over in Japan told us that Boa Hancock was going to be a big manga rare. Like one of the very biggest manga rares around. Over in Japan, it is still significantly higher than a bunch of the ones on this list. Like the next card we're going to get to, Boa Hancock is, I was actually tired of it in Japan, to be fair. But there are some of the ones from OP09, for instance, where Boa Hancock is just jumping it that we haven't got to yet. Sorry about that. It's just the way we are. Boa Hancock, for some reason I don't really understand, is lower than it should be in the West. It's not really... You know, it's 25% higher than Marshall D. Teach, which, spoiler alert, we haven't got to yet. I don't know why Hancock is so low in the West, but this one jumps out to me because it should be higher. In at number 6, we've got the Manga Zoro from OP06, and again, in Japan, Zoro and Boa Hancock, they're both 100,000 yen cards. Here, Zoro is 20% higher at $600. And this one I kind of get. My 2-year-old, we were looking at One Piece stuff in the shop the other day. He was getting very excited about a Zoro action figure that he wanted. My 2-year-old has apparently decided Zoro is cool. He started asking me to find him Roanoa Zoro cards. I love this. This makes me very happy. Probably because I wear Zoro shirts fairly often. That's not the point. I've got multiple of them. Point is, Zoro is cool. I love this card, incidentally. I love the fact this card can attack 3 times in one turn. It makes me very happy. But it's Zoro. It's one of the main Straw Hat crew. We kind of get this. In at number 5, we've got the Manga Shanks, which also comes in at about $600. But this is one of those ones where you look at TCG Player, they're both listed at about 600. But you go and have a look at around a bunch of other places, and you find out that generally speaking, we see that the Shanks is just a little bit higher. They're both very similar in value, but generally Shanks tends to shade this just a little bit. And it's Shanks. Shanks is another very popular One Piece character, as you might expect. And it's a very playable card right now. It's seeing a bunch of play in the meta, which probably helps. And that puts it up at $600. What I don't get is in at number 4, Manga Marshall D. Teach at $700. It's from OP09, and this is another one of those where I'm just like, what are you doing? We would expect the proportionate prices to be roughly the same in Japan and in the West. That's not to say the exact value, but the order should be roughly the same. Over in Japan, Shanks is almost double Marshall D. Teach. Boa Hancock is 25% higher than Marshall D. Teach, and yet over here, Teach comes in at number 4? This is one that doesn't really make a huge amount of sense to me. I don't really understand this one, but essentially it's partly to do with the fact that people are hyping up the deck, and I think that's probably about it, honestly. People are hyping up the deck. I don't think Marshall D. Teach is that popular a character. For some reason, this card has just ballooned upwards. In at number 3, the last one that doesn't make complete sense, Manga Chopper coming in at about $700. Yes, I know I've given the same price for the last 2 cards, but again, having a good look around, generally speaking, this one tends to be a bit higher. And again, this doesn't make much sense. This one, again, over in Japan, this one's lower than Boa Hancock. It is about half the price of Shanks. In fact, weirdly enough, over in Japan, this is actually tied with Marshall D. Teach. And these are the 2 cards which are way higher than I think they should be. Well, no, it's not what I think. Looking at Japan, these are the 2 cards that are higher than they should be. And they're both actually tied in at number 3 and 4. And I know Tony Chopper's adorable, right? My kids think Chopper's adorable, even though we haven't even got to that part of the anime yet. But my point is, this is a very nice card, but coming in at number 3 makes no sense to me. The good news is the top 2 do make sense. In at number 2, it's obviously the manga Luffy from OP09, which, I mean, check it out. There's a video on this channel of me pulling that Luffy. It's bizarre, and I still don't quite know how it happened, but this is one of those situations where rather than arguing with it, we just get very happy and don't argue. But it's about a $1,000 card. This Luffy comes in at about $1,000. It's a phenomenally expensive card. And as with all of these, it's come down a fair bit since release. It was near $1,500 initially. Now it's come down to only $1,000. I'll tell you what, still delighted I pulled this card. Still a wonderful card. And look, this is a decently playable card and all of that. But let's not beat around the bush here. It's Luffy. Like, that's why this card is so expensive. It's why this card is so high. It's Luffy. Luffy cards are always going to be super expensive because of the whole, they're Luffy. There's your explanation. And then in at number 1 is obviously the Gold Manga Roger, which I think is about $4,000. Now, I'm going to include proof for this. Here are the last 2 sales. As I record this, here are the last 2 sales on eBay. $4,000, buy it now. 3,850 out of 17 bids. So, after 17 bids. This is a $4,000 card. I really thought it was going to settle nearer to $2,000, and there's a very good chance it's not done settling yet. But the fact is, I've had a good look around recording this video. I've checked my work to make sure I'm not feeding you guys rubbish, and the reality is, this is, right now, a $4,000 card. Simple as that. So there we go. Those are the top 10 cards of the year. And because of all the fancy stuff going on, and especially OP09, we have ended up with just 10 manga rares. Half of them are from OP09. But yeah, that's the list this year. It's just all the manga rares. But I will tell you, like I say, we had that little break after number 10 where I showed you 4 other cards this year which are close to the list but didn't quite make it. So as always, did you pull any of these? Which ones did you pull? How lucky did you get? And I got a question I really genuinely want everyone to answer, and I promise you I'm going to be checking this in the comments. Everyone still watching the video at this point, tell me your best pull of the year in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.